And now, a special public service announcement. This NBA postseason, we've been forced to watch countless players in the NBA endure senseless acts of violence on their dicks and balls. No one has been safe, and they need our help. For only 5 cents a day, you can help provide these athletes with the equipment they need to protect their dicks and balls and their futures. Remember, 5 cents a day to help these poor, helpless players. Just think of how much happiness you could bring them if you help them to protect their dicks and balls. This message was brought to you by the Foundation for the Preservation of Dicks and Balls. We now return you to your regularly scheduled program.
Warning. Pregnant women, the elderly, and children under 16 should avoid prolonged exposure to Dirt Diggler. Dirt Diggler may suddenly accelerate to dangerous speeds. Dirt Diggler has high gluten content and is not kosher, halal, or vegan safe. Do not ingest Dirt Diggler, as Dirt Diggler is for external use only. Discontinue listening to Dirt Diggler if any of the following occurs: itching, vertigo, dizziness, discoloration of urine, tingling in extremities, loss of balance or coordination, slurred speech, temporary blindness, profuse sweating, heart palpitations, increased use of profanity. If listening to Dirt Diggler gives you an erection lasting longer than 4 hours, you're welcome. Listening to Dirt Diggler may lead to unplanned pregnancies. If Dirt Diggler begins to smoke, get away immediately. Seek shelter and cover head. Dirt Diggler may stick to certain types of skin. When not in use, Dirt Diggler should be returned to a special container and kept under refrigeration. The ingredients of Dirt Diggler include, but are not limited to, a glowing substance which fell to the earth, presumably from outer space, and bad memories. Do not taunt Dirt Diggler. Dirt Diggler does not come with a lifetime guarantee. Dirt Diggler. Enjoy the show.
Extra heat.
All right, what's going on, everybody? It's the Dirt Diggler, the one and only, the dirtiest Diggler to ever Diggler for Dirt Diggler. Haha. All right, so hey, today we're going to be going over why your division sucks, covering the AFC South. We're going to go over the start of an ending of mandatory camp in Philadelphia for the Eagles. A brief tidbit of Philadelphia media fuckery. We're going to talk about Muhammad Ali. Just for a second, we're going to cover the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup. But before we get into any of those things, now listen, in some seriousness, so first round draft pick from last year, Eagles receiver Nelson Aguilar. If you guys have been on the media sites today being Friday, he was accused of rape. Of raping an exotic dancer at Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, which is apparently close to the practice facility in Philly. All right, so what I'm going to tell you guys right now is you need to be aware of the various hot takes and agendas that people have going in on reporting on this. All right, so here's the deal, right? Apparently, the assault happened. The alleged assault happened at 3 p.m. yesterday. So there were 2 other Eagles possibly present for this. And this is a serious thing, right? This is real. He's being questioned right now. I mean, this news is like not even 2 hours old. So he's being questioned. And in our reality, I hope that whatever happened, that the truth of whatever happened comes out and that it's adjudicated properly. All right. His talent on the football field does not excuse him from any possible behavior. It doesn't excuse anyone. His character doesn't excuse or make it to where it doesn't happen. How you or I perceive a third party has no bearing on whether or not that third party is capable of a crime. So what we think, oh, he has high character or seems like such a nice person, that's who they show the world, and it's got no bearing on who they actually are. All right, everyone's good at wearing a mask, and I'm no different, you're no different. We all do it. We have a face we show the world, we have the face we show our family and friends, and then we have the face we keep to ourselves. So, expect to hear the takes of she's extorting this guy for money. Expect to hear the takes saying he should be cut immediately and that he's inherently guilty. Expect to hear everything in between. All right. The bottom line is that he's being interviewed. She's being interviewed. The Eagles are aware. And that's all that's come out of this. That's all that's been said. Right now is an alleged assault. There's possibly 2 other people that are associated with the team that may have been there. And as this thing unravels, I can only hope that the truth comes out. And that's really it. Right. I don't necessarily hope that there was an attack. Honestly, I hope there wasn't an attack. I don't want anyone to go through something like that. No one should want another human being to go through the violence of rape. It's a very violent thing, and no one should have to endure it. I don't care what their crimes were. No one needs to endure rape, right? I'm hoping for everyone involved that there was no actual attack, really, of any kind, no forced anything of any kind. But ultimately, the truth. Hopefully, the truth comes out, and that everything is handled properly by the law and all those associated with the law, and that's all you can hope for in these situations. There's really nothing else you can hope for, right? And that if the guy is found, if Aguilar is found that this was not a rape, and that there may not have even been any sex or anything like that, I just hope that whoever was involved can recover as appropriately as their involvement allows. How about that, right? I hope that if the woman was raped, that she can recover and move on with her life, and that if she wasn't, that this young man can restore his image if there was no wrongdoing. And that's it. That's all you can hope for in any of this. It's such an ugly business, and unfortunately, it's the reality of the world we live in. So, give your kids a hug today. Give your kids a hug every day, because the world's an ugly place. So, I'm sorry to get that nastiness out of the way first thing, but hey, there's always room for reality in a something like a podcast. So, moving on to why your division sucks, right? It's kind of hard to follow that up with why your division sucks, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to soldier on, because, damn it, we're not even semi-pros, but, this is a hobby I'm really into, and I'm going to do it, damn it. So here we go, right? So the AFC South absolutely sucks. It fucking sucks. And let me tell you, last year it was the weakest division in football. So honestly, to sit here and go over why the AFC South sucks is not really hard. It's not hard. But let's go down the list, right? So as a division, they are by far the weakest of all the divisions, right? So everyone's like, oh, the NFC East is so shitty. The NFC East is shitty. But when you compare us to the AFC South, we're actually really good. Like, holy shit, we're really good, competent teams in the NFC East compared to the AFC South, all right? So there are 2 Lombardi trophies in that division, and they belong to the same fucking team, right? The Colts have both Lombardi trophies that belong in the AFC South. Half of the teams are expansion teams, and the other half are on their second city. The Colts escaped Baltimore, and the Titans escaped Houston when they were the Oilers. So you have 2 teams that are technically expansion teams, right? And then you have the other 2, which are retreads, so to speak. And only one of those has really been successful thus far. The most exciting players in the AFC South are the troll that lives under the bridge with Andrew Luck, and a walking billboard for America circa 1950. He's like an old man in a young man's body. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy has a picture of Senator McCarthy in his closet that he worships. But either way, those 2 players are the most exciting players by far. Like, there really isn't anyone else of consequence in that division except J.J. Watt and Andrew Luck, and that's fucking pathetic. So either way, let's go down by the teams themselves. All right. So how do these teams suck? Well, let me explain to you how these teams suck. All right. So the Colts have a savant bridge troll as their star quarterback, who's really good. I mean, let's be real. He is worthy of his first round pick status. He's one of the first 2 picks. I want to say he was the number 1 pick. He was the number 1 pick, with RG3 being the second one behind him, and the comparisons were inevitable, right? You had the Ryan Leaf and Peyton Manning comparisons, because this scenario has played itself out a couple times in the past. So so Andrew Luck, good player, right? And he's normally pretty good until like the playoffs roll around, and then he goes from dependable, dynamic quarterback to fucking turnover machine. Like, the second this guy gets in front of a talented team in the playoff, he falls to shit. But it's like adorable, and everybody fawns over him, and he gets a pass for some reason, because he's a nice guy, I guess. he gets a pass, but he shouldn't, because like you can't go to like New England and throw 5 picks and expect to win that game. You're not going to. Oh, this is also the team that's responsible for the start of Deflategate. So if you're tired of hearing about Deflategate, you can kind of blame the Colts for pointing it out. I'm not saying the Patriots were right. I'm just saying, like, they opened that can, so they kind of suck for that. All right? Either way, this is also the same team that traded for Trent Richardson. They traded a no-shit first-round pick for Trent Richardson. Now, Trent Richardson is probably the worst running back to come out of any round in recent years. Like, he is like the epitome of a first-round bust at the position of running back. He sucks. He has sucked his entire. I guess he has some like mild success his first year with the Browns, but let's be real. He's in Baltimore right now on a 1-year contract with $0 guaranteed dollars for a reason. The guy sucks. The Colts traded for him. They traded a first-round pick for this guy, and it wasn't like he was good when they traded for him. He sucked when they traded for him. They gave a first-round pick to the Browns for Trent Richardson, and it wasn't like Richardson was on the up and up. He still couldn't find a hole. This guy, all he does, if you're looking for a pile of bodies, look for Trent Richardson is your guy, because he'll miss the hole completely and run straight into the pile, and that's what he did, and that's what he continues to do, and they wasted a first-round pick on acquiring him, right? And then you have their freaking owner, who's an overt freaking pill popper. Like, the guy freaking got caught with, like, drunk or high with a suitcase full of money in the NFL, which is kind of like, oh, we don't know what to do with this. Can we suspend an owner? Because we're used to hammering players. We're not used to owners being so overt with how fucked up they are. Like, Jerry Jones, does a lot of grimy shit. He's a fucking lecherous old man. But you know what? He kind of keeps it on the low to his set. He doesn't get pulled over by the cops with a suitcase full of no shit money and drugs. But here you go, Jim Irsay getting caught, which is hilarious because his daddy was the same way. So yeah, the Irsays were like that. The Irsays are like that. Both Big Daddy Irsay, who fled Baltimore, and Little Irsay, who owns the team now, both had substance abuse problems. In all honesty, I want to poke fun at them. Like, it's easy, right? You do it, so fuck them. But like, these guys literally have all the finances and resources to get all the help they need. But since I guess they're pills and booze, there's never going to be a problem. So yeah, the Irsays are definitely the moral compass you want steering your team into the promised land. Oh, then this fuckwit Irsay has the nerve to like make comments about concussions, and one player took his ass to task and was like, well, I guess you, having so much experience with prescription pills, you know a lot about concussions. And I didn't see shit after that with the tweets. I guess Irsay just logged off and called it a day, because that's the only way that you can survive that burn, right? Does Obamacare cover burns? Does he even eligible for Obamacare? I don't know. Either way. So that's why the Colts suck. They suck for a lot of reasons, and really that's most of it. Like, the Irsays suck. Their roster's old as hell. They picked up every retread they could find last year from every team. They picked up a bunch of Eagles cast off, and they sucked out loud. They sucked really hard last year. Moving on to the Titans. So the Titans are apparently like the Colts of this year. Like, they were the Colts as well, kind of, sort of. So they traded picks to the Eagles to have DeMarco Spray Tan Murray as their star running back, right? So they go and they get a guy who didn't do shit in Philly besides be petulant. Like, he was quietly bitching. He wasn't like super loud diva status bitching, but you could tell like he was kind of like low key bitching about everything going on. And Philadelphia was a train wreck last year under Chip Kelly, but Murray didn't help at all. He didn't help the case on the field. He didn't help the case in the locker room. He didn't help the case in the media. So then they go and they draft Derrick Henry out of Alabama to complement this guy, right? So Derrick Henry has the footwork of a drunken elderly moose. Like, I saw some clips of this guy in practice, and he doesn't belong. I mean, just judging by the footwork, these linebackers going to eat his ass up, right? He's a big dude, but this is the pro level. These linebackers are far superior to anything he played against in college, and his lack of footwork is gonna be detrimental. He's a big boy, but I mean, even Okoye got taken down, so his size isn't really an asset, so to speak. We'll see though. So the thing about Alabama running backs is because Nick Saban is so run heavy that these running backs graduate with like 7 years worth of wear and tear on their bodies, right? So besides Trent Richardson having the fucking field vision of Ray Charles, and you have Derrick Henry, who's already probably got a lot of mileage on him, right? So his longevity as a pro probably isn't going to be there. But he's actually, I'm sorry, they didn't spend a first-round pick. He's a second-round pick, and he'll be a bust either way. He's a wasted pick. They could have picked somebody else up. Either way, so the Titans also play in the state of Tennessee, and the only pro team of consequence in Tennessee, the only pro teams are worth of consequence are the Grizzlies and the Volunteers, right? So you're like, but Dirty, the Volunteers are a college team. And I'm like, that's where you're wrong, right? Because college athletes are getting paid out the ass right now under the table, so they're professionals. And do I disagree with that? No. Should they be paid? They're not paid, technically, but they are paid. Arian Foster came out of Tennessee. He talked about some of the various NERF violations that he was engaged in. I imagine there were some greater violations for other players that apply down there. But so, yeah, Tennessee's not in a good place. They're in a market that kind of likes football, but not really, and they're in a shitty division, and they're a shitty team. But, whatever. So then you have the Houston Moo Cows, the Texans, which, all right, so I didn't understand the logo for years, right? I did not know that Texan was a type of cow. I didn't know Texan was cattle. Like, for me, I'm like, Houston Texan, that's a really, like, kind of a redundant name, and why is there a cow on the side of their helmets? It was like just recently that I was able to find out that, hey, a Texan is a breed of cattle, and I was like, oh, well, that makes a hell of a lot more sense. I guess that kind of does. I guess, is the Texas Longhorn that breed? Is the Longhorn and the Texan the same cow? Either way, they named their team after steaks, so fuck them. So what they do have though is they have an All-Pro defensive end in J.J. Watt, right? He's like hands down the best player. He's really 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 good as a defensive end, but he's really it. He's all they have down there. All right, and then they did pick up former Broncos quarterback Brock Osweiler, who you're like, who's Brock Osweiler? He's the guy who sat on the bench for zombie Peyton Manning last year for the Broncos, right? So even in garbage time, they were reluctant to put this guy in the game. So they drafted him high in Denver to do good things, and you know what? He never really got a chance to with Peyton Manning being there. They shelved him for Peyton, and so as a result, he fled. Now he's gonna sit there and go, "Oh, I didn't leave because they slighted me." No, dude. Like, I would have left too. They shit on you like a lot for Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning was nowhere near the player he needed to be. But nonetheless, they shit on him, and so he left, and so now he's in Houston, who allegedly has been perpetually one quarterback away from greatness. We shall see. But right now, they're part of the weakest division, and they absolutely fucking suck, right? Then we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Jaguars. They are the second most futile franchise in all of the NFL behind the Browns, the expansion Browns, not the old Browns that are now the Ravens that actually have 2 Lombardis. The expansion Browns that are currently in Cleveland that we talked about last week. So they no matter what they do, like they can't get it together. Like between like drafting not Blake Bortles, but who did they take, man? It was a couple years ago. Either way, they took a player. He sucked. Blaine Gabbert. Yeah, he was horrible. They wasted a pick on him. But the thing about them is they always seem like 1 or 2 players away from being good, and they never can get those 1 or 2 players. Like something always happens, and those 2 players never materialize. They get like arrested for like DUI, domestic violence or some shit, gun charge. They get injured, they blow their knee or some shit. They can never get that key player they need, no matter what. And the thing is, they play in this like weak ass division, and they still like are perpetually horrible, right? So on top of all those things, 2 years in a row they've injured their number 1 pick in training camp before signing, the contracts. So that's just weird that they would have that happen back to back. But that's how like star-crossed the Jaguars have been for their existence, really. All right, so if you've been watching for a long time, right? So the Panthers and the Jaguars become teams in the same year, and then like the next year, the owners like sold out and brought in like all these veterans, And both teams were able to make it to their respective conference championships, which was crazy because it was like, what if we have like an expansion Super Bowl, right? What if we do that? And since then, Carolina's been like, okay, like they've been to a couple Super Bowls in the meantime, and the Jacksonville Jaguars just kind of fell to shit forever. They're in a city that doesn't give a shit about them. Like Jacksonville Jaguars Stadium is it's like they can't even show the games on TV because they can't get enough people in the stadium to prevent the blackout. Like they're buying tickets themselves just to prevent a TV blackout in their area. It's really a sad situation down there in Jacksonville. I mean, it's probably in their best bets to like leave just because the market's so small down there, and they're never really going to get the support that they had when they were brand new. But whatever, we'll see. So, as always, where there is hate, there is hope. So let me tell you, if Andrew Luck, the Savant Bridge troll, can ever put together solid postseason performance, they can go far. I mean, the Colts can do some really good things if Andrew Luck can play consistently in the playoffs, which has been his biggest knock. So he's almost like Peyton Manning 2.0, but with slightly more charisma, and I don't know how you like can take away the looks, but he's a troll. He's a troll of a human being, but he's not a bad player. I just think he's going to have to get used to the big stage at this level to really take this team to the next level. And he's capable. I think he's capable, and I actually kind of hope to see him do well. He's not because he is a good guy. He is a good guy. So in Tennessee, you have Marcus Mariota, and he proved his worth as a first round selection last year. He won some games with a very weak roster. Absolutely no running game behind him, a weak offensive line. Mariota was able to make some things happen despite getting the stuffing knocked out of him for most of the games. But he was really able to do some good things. A spray tan Murray might just have a rebirth down there. I mean, the Philadelphia, like I said, it was a trash can fire last year. And while he was a part of it, maybe the change in scenery is good for him. Maybe the Titans were correct in their ability to see value in DeMarco Murray. And so he'll be like the no shit, like the man down there with Henry spelling him. But he could have a great year. I mean, he's got a coach down there that's really run heavy. He's got a good young quarterback. They're retooling that offensive line. And they still play in a weak division, so they could make a play on the division championships against the three other super weak teams. Now, I don't see them taking down a powerhouse team like the Patriots or Seattle yet or Pittsburgh. But, I mean, they're a couple years off of rebuilding to where maybe they can get to the level to where they're competing with teams that have been perpetually great. They've had a heyday in the past when McNair was under center. So they can do good things. They just got to put it all together, and they have another star quarterback, so it's possible in Tennessee for them to do great things. It really is. The Moo Cows will have J.J. Watt for a while, and he's an absolute terror. Like if you watch this guy play, it's almost like he's playing against like little kids. The speed and strength that he moves, he's such a dominant presence on the defense. And eventually Jadeveon Clowney is going to show up, or he's not, But either way, by himself, J.J. Watt is he almost appears unblockable. So they're going to have that going for them for a while, and that's good. They also have Osweiler. Now, Peyton Manning, his zombie body did break down at some point a little bit last year for Denver, and Osweiler did get some time, and Osweiler won some games. He definitely didn't cost them any games. So he played competent football. I mean, I guess they had changed the system to more of a game manager type deal because Peyton Manning couldn't throw the ball more than 20 yards for the most part. But Osweiler functioned well. Of course, having a top tier, defense really takes the pressure off most quarterbacks. So that's that. He has that going on for him in Denver, and maybe not so much in Houston. But he could take Houston to the next level. They do have a good receiving corps. They do have DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, but Osweiler's going to have to play good. But he has potential. We'll see. He was highly drafted. He wasn't like, a seventh round gem they're trying to polish up. He's not a project quarterback. He was drafted to be the man in Denver by a quarterback who has been the man in John Elway. So he, Elway knows a couple things about playing quarterback. He appeased Manning. He drafted Osweiler. He pissed off Osweiler. Osweiler left. Osweiler got paid. He got absolutely paid, but he's got to play. but he's got good folks to throw the ball to. So we'll see how he does, but they have a chance to do some good things. Now, what's interesting is Jacksonville, right? So Jacksonville, the Jaguars get back the number 1 pick from last year who blew his knee in camp, right? And the guy who blew his knee this year, he didn't really blow his knee so much as he may have hurt it a bit. They're not sure of the extent. Either way, the guy they drafted last year is a defensive monster. So they also have this young quarterback named Blake Bortles, who's I've watched play, and this guy is pretty good. So they seem to be doing a good job of building their roster around what they have, augmenting, bringing in some good players. They draft some. They're making smart draft picks. And now whether or not to take care of them and practice is a whole other story. But they're making some smart picks. All right, starting with Bortles, they brought in some veterans in that receiving core. Their line is starting to solidify. Their defense is starting to become a thing, and they were in a lot of games last year. Right, so they weren't necessarily a doormat. Like, you weren't going to go into Jacksonville and just wear these cats out and be done with it. That you were going to get 4 quarters of football out of these guys, which is, you don't want to say moral victories don't count for shit, but they kind of do, right? They kind of do at this point when you have a really young team that's starting to shape together. The close games and those things kind of build a resiliency into your team. They kind of build a resiliency. So it'll be in everyone's best interest to keep an eye on this young team, because they can surprise you. Gus Bradley has these guys, shaping up into something nice, so they could surprise you moving forward. So keep your eyes open. So that's why the AFC South sucks, and that's why the AFC South can do some good things. I don't see them changing their status as the weakest division in football, but I can see the teams getting incrementally better. I can see them improving. And maybe I'll be surprised. I mean, pretty much all my predictions have been right and wrong at the same time going up so far. But, maybe they have good things down there. There's some good players in that division. They just gotta put it together. All right, so camp started and camp ended in Philly, right? It's like 3 days worth of camp. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was camp. And so Sproles rolled in, super important. Cox rolled in. Super important, right? So the question marks in the media were, are Sproles, is Cox going to show up? And like I said, look, Sproles was just hanging out with his family, and then Cox was holding out because, he didn't have to be there and he was going through a contract thing. And I get it either way. For both of them, I'm not faulting either one of those dudes. Now, the difference is Sproles showed up ready to rock. Sproles showed up, and he was full speed from the very first snap in practice. Now, Cox was not. They're easing Cox back in. So maybe Cox doesn't have the same workout regimen that Sproles does. Then again, Sproles has had a lot longer time to figure out how to keep himself in shape to where Cox hasn't. So we'll see. I don't think that's going to take away from him being a monster. He's a lot of person to move around. So we'll see. What was really good, though, about Fletcher Cox is how he was handling things. And we're going to actually get into that in the Philly media fuckery section. But Fletcher Cox had, you don't hold out, as one of the best defensive linemen in football for a new contract and not have the media ask questions. And he filtered those questions, and he did a very good job. So it's a lot of good things that came out of camp. And really up until today with the Aguilar thing, I was really looking forward to seeing what was going to happen with this team. But, Aguilar and maybe 2 other Eagles could be involved in some very unsavory things. So who knows? Now on to the Philly media fuckery portion, right? So Bradford put his indelible stamp on the Eagles when he came back from his little holdout, right? So he was raked over to Coles, and I'm pro Sam, not pro requesting the trade publicly, right? I like Sam as a player. I want to see him do well, right? Because he's my quarterback, and I think right now he's the best chance we got. So I want to see him do well. I think that what he did was ill-advised, right? But ultimately I want to see him succeed because he's still on my team. And if he's successful, that means we're successful. And, maybe in the future he goes some of the roster. Who knows? But either way, I'm not going to sit here and rake the guy over the coals over and over again, right? So they were trying to create this, quarterback controversy. I spoke on it before. But now that he's put a stamp on the team, they can't. The whole attitude shifted. They went from slamming every little thing that he did to actually giving more of an honest evaluation on his performance and the performance of Wentz, right? So now instead of Wentz being this infallible godsend of a player, Wentz is looked at as a rookie with a lot to learn. It's crazy, right? Like, wow, what a difference a week makes, right? So it went from Bradford can't do shit right to Bradford is undoubtedly the starting quarterback, and he looks the part. He's the most accurate. He's making the best decisions on the fly. He's playing like a 7-year veteran. And Wentz, while he's got all the athletic gifts, he doesn't have the judgment right now. He's got a lot to learn. His footwork isn't what it needs to be. So they're being more critical of Wentz now than they were before. But I guess I shouldn't call it fuckery, but that's part of it. The other half of the fuckery was now that the quarterback controversy is dead, they can't really make that yet. Like maybe later on they'll bring it back, but right now they're shelving it. Is that Fletcher Cox? Like they were trying so hard to get Fletcher Cox to say some bullshit regarding his contract, and he played it well. He goes, "Hey, look, anything to do with my contract is between my agent and the Eagles, and that's it." So he basically said, "Listen, dipshits, I'm not going to talk to you about my contract status at all. Like, what you hear is what you hear. I'm not telling you shit." So I think he played that very well. Because really, you can't give these guys shit. This is not like a public dispute for this contract. Both sides have expressed a desire for him to be in Philly. Fletcher Cox says, "Hey, look, I want to be in Philly." Philly's saying, "Hey, look, we'd love to have you in Philly. So here's a bunch of money." And now there goes the details. That's for the agent and the team to figure out. Both his agent and Roseman are been doing this for a minute. So I assume, I can hope that they reach an agreement before actual training camp starts and the pads go on. And that'd be great. But, either way, that's between those guys. And Fletcher Cox is not taking the bait, so kudos to him. And shame on the Philly media for trying to get a story out of that. But I get it, discourse gets you clicks. So I get it. So, they're going to make this controversy and they get pissed off when it goes the wrong way. Like, y'all are part of the problem, but whatever. So moving on to the finals. So game 1. In Golden State in Oakland. Golden State won by 15, and I call, look, the Cavs are going to come out and play much better in Game 2, and I was fucking mistaken because the Cavs got their asses whooped to the tune of 33 points, right? I think LeBron was sat in the third quarter at some point. The Cavaliers completely conceded that game and gave it to the Warriors, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm talking to folks in the office. I'm like, hey, look, the Cavs have to win Game 3, and they can't just, squeeze out a win. They got to win convincingly. And they did. Holy shit, they wore the Warriors out. Steph Curry continues to be a non-factor. Klay Thompson took a knee to the thigh, which is questionable, dirty or not from Mozgov. Wasn't to the nuts, though, which I guess is a pleasant change in the trend that he didn't get hit in the balls. But but whatever. He took one to the thigh. He came back in. But he's been mostly non-existent as well. The difference was the intensity on defense from the Cavaliers. Their defense was able to frustrate Golden State into some bad decisions, and then from there, their offense was able to capitalize. Now, hey, look, not to take anything away from Cleveland, but Golden State came in there on some bullshit. They did not go in there as a veteran team looking to put the nail in the coffin. They came in there soft, and you cannot roll in there soft against these guys. You simply cannot, right? You have to come in ready to play each and every game, or these guys will make you pay. This is the NBA Finals. What are you thinking? So they went in there like it was whatever, and Cleveland played like a team that knew it had to win. They played as they should have been playing in games 1 and 2. So now we have a Game 4, scheduled tonight, and really Golden State needs to come back and have a stronger showing than they did in Game 3. Because if Cleveland whoops their asses again, I don't know what's going to happen going back to Golden State. I don't know. Right, it definitely takes the series to 6 either way, so I'd be right in that. But it basically game 3 made this a series again. I mean, just the ability of LeBron to reassert himself, truly have an outstanding game, and for that team to show up. I mean, hey, maybe the best thing that happened to them was Kevin Love getting a concussion, and I hate to say it like that, but maybe Kevin Love's weak ass attempts at defense and lack of athleticism, maybe him not being available and then being forced to play a better defender is what helped them, because it certainly helped them last year, right? If you looked at the team that played last year and the Cavs that are playing this year, they almost didn't seem like the same team. But here we are. Love is sat down, and as a result, everyone's doing better. So maybe Love's not the answer, Either way, this was a huge win for the Cavaliers psychologically, and good on them. And we'll watch Game 4 and we'll see what happens. So moving on to the Stanley Cup, right? So The Sharks were able to win Game 3 in overtime in San Jose. The Sharks were able to win Game 3 in overtime in San Jose. And the Penguins took Game 4. So, hey, they went back to Pittsburgh. And the Sharks won Game 5 by 2 goals. And apparently their goalie played like lights out hockey. It was ridiculous. Either way, it's a series now, right? So I was watching the Penguins, and they looked absolutely superior in every way, shape, and form in the games that I watched. And it looked like San Jose may have figured some things out. But we'll see. Like this is also a good series to keep track of. This is a good series because it's a series now. Because it's a series now. So kudos to both of those teams for playing some good hockey. Kudos. It's boring to see a team just get the shit kicked out of them. Like with the NBA, between getting hit in the balls repeatedly, I don't think I've seen this many just blowouts. All the way up from the first round to the championship round, folks shouldn't be getting smoked by 30 points. This is the best of the best, but it's been more of the case than the exception. But we're not really seeing it so much in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's been some, like I said, some rock solid hockey, and really, if you're not watching it, you're missing out. So if you're not watching hockey, you need to go watch some hockey. Hockey is an exciting game with a lot of energy, and if you like basketball, give it a shot. Give hockey a shot. So that's pretty much it for this week, right? That's pretty much it. Next week we're going to be going over why the AFC West sucks, right? So you have Denver, the reigning Super Bowl champions, why they suck. The Raiders, why they suck. The Chiefs, why they suck. And the Chargers and San Diego, why they suck. And whatever other pertinent things, the NBA Finals should have wrapped up by then. Of course, they would have wrapped up by then. And then you have the Stanley Cup playoffs would have wrapped up by then. And we'll go over that. And whatever other news is pertinent for the Eagles and what other teams I want to cover. So, hey, look, I'm on iTunes still and Stitcher, as well as SoundCloud. But I'm also on Mixcloud. So if you're on SoundCloud or iTunes, look for me on Mixcloud, right? Same name. And I'm always open to receive your finest hate mail, right? Send me your finest, most passionate hate mail to DirtDiggler2823 at gmail.com, right? So DirtDiggler2823 is all one word. There's no spaces or dots or anything. No dashes. So DirtDiggler2823 at gmail.com. Look, send me your finest hate mail. I haven't received any hate mail yet. I'm actually surprised because I'm like going in on these teams in this division and I haven't received any hate mail on that account. Like I've got some chat stuff, on Facebook or whatever, but no real hate mail from someone who's a fan, right? So, hey, look, Raiders fans, I'm looking at you. I'm going to shit on your team. And I expect some top-notch hate mail from you guys. You guys have always been available to the Deadspin people. Hey, look, I'm looking for it too. Send me your finest fucking hate mail. All right, boom. So, hey, look, it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. Dirt Diggler out.